All right, so we're gonna get started with the basics. I'm gonna walk you through those three categories: the release, the base, and the rhythm. And I emphasize those three categories not just because that's all there is, but because essentially everything I would have to say to anyone as a shooter, or you'll hear me say to my kids, or I'll talk about through these weeks, revolves around those things physically. There's more to shooting, which of course is confidence and this and that, but when it comes to technique, anything that I have to say usually falls into those three categories. There's a lot that we can go through and a lot we might break down, but I don't want to overcomplicate things, simplify things. Most of what you have to think about revolve around having a great release and a consistent release, having a strong base, and then working off that base, and then having a great shooting rhythm. So I'm going to show you just some basic shooting and talk through as I'm shooting the basketball what those emphases are. And secondly, I'm going to make some shots so that you guys actually know I know what I'm talking about and can still do so. All right, so I'm going to have my trusty rebounder, Isaiah Crispin, here for me to streamline things. But remember, our three focus: the release, the base, and the rhythm. All right? I'm just going to take 30, 40 shots max. I want you to see and note those things as I get warmed up. All right? First of all, the release, okay? A lot of people talk about elbows in, elbows out, and this, that, and the other thing. The biggest thing for us is we want to have the right hand behind the ball, the strong hand behind the ball. And over time, as you get older and older, making sure this left hand isn't helping to shoot the ball, that it simply is a guide hand, all right? Most younger players are going to use a left thumb. They're going to use a little bit of a two-hand shot. But as you move along in your shooting development, you want to have a good one-hand release. Ball's coming off these fingers with some sort of combination depending on how you do it, but the one-hand release is the key. What's the number one way we work on that release is our form shooting. All right, this week you have a form shooting video, but over and over and over, you want to see this release and work on this release. As a kid, I used to work on it in the living room, in the basement, in the driveway, at the park. I was told very early on to focus on the release, and I listened. So should your elbow be in, out? Yeah, it should be more in than out. But if you focus on having this good one-hand release, the elbow will often take care of itself. You don't need to tuck it. You don't need to get it out. If you have a good one-hand follow-through over and over and over, you're going to have a good release, okay? The second thing is our base, all right? And when we talk about our base, we want our feet underneath us, all right? If you're too wide, you lose some power. If you're too narrow, you lose some power. Right underneath us is where we want to be. And oftentimes you'll see as I shoot, my feet aren't square. That's often something that people talk about as if it's shooting doctrine. It really isn't. Your shoulder being square to the rim is more important than your feet being square to the rim. Usually as a right-handed shooter, my feet are turned just a little bit slightly. If I had a clock around my feet, it would probably be pointed at about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Some people a little bit 10 o'clock. But depending on your release, your feet might be a little more square than mine, and that's fine. But the most important thing is having a strong base, all right? Last but not least, our rhythm. Okay, when we shoot the basketball, we want to shoot the basketball, right? We want to come on, Isaiah. We want to have a nice feel and a nice flow to our basketball, all right? You'll hear me, as I work with my kids, talking about the rhythm of shooting, the flow of shooting. It should feel good, all right? It shouldn't feel, my shoulders should be relaxed. My body should be relaxed. I shouldn't be forcing it. It's something you got to flow through, all right? Rhythm is something that you have to find, that you have to tinker with, that you have to let happen. It's not something you can think through, all right? So as I focus on my release, and I don't really have to anymore, I'm more where I am now, and even for my kids oftentimes, I'm focused on their rhythm, how things feel. I am a big believer that your body is very, very smart. It knows how to shoot a basketball better than you think so. And oftentimes as you guys get older, as kids or as adults, you start complicating shooting more than you need to, right? It doesn't need to be complicated. You let yourself flow through the shot and shoot the shot. All right, over and over and over. It even helps when your passers make bad passes. So don't get mad at them, right? Because you want to find your rhythm and find your flow. All right, I'm just taking set shots now, but if I was to take jump shots, same process. Finding the flow, finding the feel. Focus on good release over and over and over again. Ooh, got to end with a couple makes. Two more. All right. So release, base, rhythm. Everything we'll say for as far as technique will fall into one of those three categories. When it comes to form shooting at the beginning, you're focused on base and release and even a little bit of rhythm. When it comes to your flow of 5-spot shooting or off the dribble or all these different things we show you throughout the summer, it's rhythm, it's feel. You let yourself shoot. One of the dangers of making these videos is I'm giving you a lot of information. And one of the things about that is you can use that information to confuse yourself. Don't do that. Keep it simple. Boil it down to these three things.